Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to go over my DraftKings and Fanduel Showdown picks. We'll look at some lineup builds. We'll look at some core plays. I'm going to do the same thing for Fanduel. We have an absolute banger of a game to get us started for this football season. Got the Buffalo Bills against the Rams. It's in Los Angeles, Super Bowl champs against one of the best teams in the AFC and the current Super Bowl favorites. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, if you enjoy the videos, I appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for all the love you have shown on the previous NFL videos. You can check them out if you haven't yet. But really do appreciate that, and we'll be having videos like that all season. I'll have more after today. We'll look at a final look for football, maybe like a stacks video or something like that as well. If you want to join us, you can visit the website. Link is in the description. You can check out Twitter to stay more connected, stay more up to date. And let's go ahead and get started. So currently this total is at 52.5. It is going to be one of the higher scoring ones for week one. If you're playing like a Thursday to Monday contest on DraftKings, you probably want to have a couple of players from this game, or at least one. We have the Bills are on the road, but they are favored. Currently, they have an implied total of 27.5, so they're favored by like 2.5 points right now against the Rams, who could be down a weapon in Van Jefferson, who hasn't practiced Monday or Tuesday. It doesn't look like he'll play on Thursday, but we'll see. Today will be a big day in kind of getting that cleared up. But in the preseason finale, the Rams rested. They rested Ben Skowronek, and they rested Tutu Atwell. So those guys are probably going to fill in for Van Jefferson and split some snaps at the 3. So those guys are automatic values. But let's go ahead and just run through the positions, or the pricing and position. So most expensive guy on this one is Cooper Kupp. He's at 12.4 in the flex. I think he's obviously a tremendous play. He's broken the slate so many times all throughout last season. However, there's still plenty of other options here when you have the Bills and Josh Allen running the show in this game. So not saying that Cooper Kupp is not an automatic. He's not a great captain play, but he's not an automatic one. We have Josh Allen right below him. Usually I like to go to quarterbacks if I can in the captain spot, especially for a guy like Josh Allen, who's finished off the season with back-to-back 40 bombs with combined 9 touchdowns in his last 2 games, put up 47 and 42 points. The Bills' offense is still absolutely lethal with the amount of points and damage that they can do. So personally, I prefer getting to Josh Allen at captain over Cooper Kupp, just for either the fact that he's cheaper and the fact that I do think the Bills will win this game. Then you have Matthew Stafford at 10.8. He's not as good of a captain play as the top 2 guys, and his price is kind of reflective of that. And that's mainly because he's not going to give you any upside with the legs. So you're going to need him to throw for 3 touchdowns, if not, and throw for like probably 250, if not 300 plus yards to get that bonus to really compete with the top 2 guys if they do play like everybody's expecting. Stephon Diggs is kind of, sometimes on these showdown slates, you're going to have to avoid a guy or kind of be less own a guy than the field is, or if you're making just one team, just kind of, doesn't really matter. That doesn't pertain. But if you're making like 150 teams, you're going to have to kind of differentiate yourself from the field a bit. And I think Diggs might be the guy that I am definitely not super high on this one. That can change. But we've seen Diggs at times have a pretty disappointing season last year. He's still expected to have a great year, and I do think he'll have an awesome year. But there are a lot of other weapons that are cheaper for Buffalo, and he's probably going to get matched up against Jalen Ramsey. So his season does not get off to an easy start going up against Ramsey, and that defense will definitely have a lot of attention on him. So instead of Diggs, I'd rather get to Gabe Davis for $1,800 less, a guy that has shown to have as much, if not more, upside. He had 11 touchdowns last year, and and that was even in limited playing time. Early on, he wasn't getting much work at all, much snaps and much targets at all. It kind of picked up, after basically towards the end of last season, where he started to have some big plays, and a lot of his catches did go for first downs and did go for big plays. So this year, it's probably his time to shine as well, alongside Diggs. And they were really crowded in the wide receiver room last year. They've kind of narrowed that down a bit. They just have 3 or 4 guys that will probably get a lot of work. Singletary's at 7K. He is always kind of facing a lot of competition in the backfield. They have Zach Moss still there, and they brought in James Cook. They drafted him, so there's still going to be competition, but Singletary is going to be the guy that will start the game and still probably get a bulk of the carries. And this one, at least, they probably don't want to use the rookie too much, and at least in the first game against the Rams. Maybe they'll kind of ease him on throughout the season. But Singletary closed out the season playing really well, not only on the ground, having some pretty good yards per game and average, but catching some passes, getting into the end zone a bunch. So at 7K, he's also pretty appealing to me. I like him more than Cam Akers. The fact that he's cheaper than him by $1,000, and Akers still has Henderson, and sometimes like he was having some fumble issues last year. Hopefully he's corrected that, but I prefer Gabe Davis and Singletary and even Dawson Knox more than Cam Akers. Dawson Knox is one of the favorite guys for me to play on showdown slates because, like, especially last year, he wasn't super popular in some of these, and he went on to be the optimal, like, that 2-touchdown game against the Patriots, I believe was on a showdown slate. He had another 2 touchdowns, I believe that could have been also on a showdown. I'm not sure, but he definitely had a couple of instances where he absolutely nuked and broke the showdown slate, and he was probably like 15-20% owned. So at $6,800, and last year, if this season goes anything like last year, we saw last year the tight ends absolutely ruled the showdown slates. We saw tight ends out of nowhere just put up big games on showdowns and have touchdowns. So this year, to get us started, we have Dawson Knox and Higbee, 2 above-average tight ends, and Dawson Knox could have a big year this year for the Bills. And then Allen Robinson, especially if there is no Van Jefferson, he looks like a tremendous value at $6,200. He gets a much better quarterback to play with this year, much more consistent targets, and much better chances of getting into the end zone just with how much higher scoring the Rams offense will be than the Bears have been with him. So really think that he's going to complement Cooper Kupp well. And Kupp might get a lot of targets and a lot of catches, but in the red zone, we could see Robinson get a good amount of work as well in looks. So at 62, he looks tremendous as a value. Crowder is $5K. He's a fade for me because he's probably going to get the 4th most snaps at wide receiver, and we have a guy that's going to be starting in the slot at more than half his price, $2,400. We're saving $26 from getting to Crowder, and Isaiah McKenzie's going to be probably a lock if I had to pick a lock on the showdown slate in terms of value, in terms of a guy that you could play at captain, and he could have a huge game, or he could still have a decent game, but still be one of the optimal captain plays because you're able to get to all the other studs if you play a guy like McKenzie. So we'll definitely look at him in a captain spot. And then you have Zach Moss, James Cook. Prefer to get to McKenzie over those guys, but if you're making a lot of teams, you can mix in some of them. Probably Moss more just because he could get some more touchdown looks and goal line looks. And then at the bottom here, Ben Skowronek, if there is no, which it looks like there won't be, but if there is no Van Jefferson, he probably will get the start at wide receiver 3, and then Tutu Atwell for tournaments could be a sleeper as well. You'll get some work in there mixed in. The kickers both look appealing to me. You have Matt Gay at $3,800. The Bills do like to go for it a lot on 4th down. So that's still, but Tyler Bass still had some good games because they were having like scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns to close out the season. He had 9 point after makes, and we saw early in the season he was having some double digits games as well, and he does have a strong leg to kick some bombs. So both kickers look good if you needed to get to one. I probably still like Bass just because the Bills are expected to score more points, but you can mix him at Gay in there as well. I'm not looking at the defense as much in this one. It should be probably a high-scoring game, so the Bills and Rams, unless you're making a lot of teams, are not particular interest for me. And it's kind of ran through all the main guys, so now let's look at some builds. So we'll start off by going with McKenzie at captain just because he's super cheap at $3,600, getting a slot starting wide receiver number 3 who plays in one of the best scoring offenses in football. You should get a ton of targets, maybe not a ton of targets, but still probably 5+ targets, and maybe do a big play. He does have unbelievably good speed, but if we're able to get to him, we're able to get to all the studs like Josh Allen, throw in Cooper Kupp here, got to 2 superstars, get to all the guys that you want. You can even get to Matthew Stafford or get to both quarterbacks, the best wide receiver in the game, and Cooper Kupp, or at least in this game, and maybe in the whole league. And we still have $5,600 left, so we're able to get to another stud in like Gabe Davis, and $4K left. We're able to throw in like a Tyler Bass or go with a Matt Gay or go with a kicker who could still score double-digit points in what should be a high-scoring game. So this lineup definitely looks pretty lethal. Only problem could be that we're using all salary, so if you're looking at tie with the least amount of people left, you're probably going to want to leave some money on the table because the majority of people will look to still fill out as much of their salary as possible. Probably like 85-90% of lineups, at least in the big, like $10 will do that. So instead of like Gabe Davis, if you wanted to be sneaky, you can throw in the Dawson Knox or even go with like an Allen Robinson and leave $1,000 on the table and just make a balanced 3-3 team like that. Another potential captain obviously is going to be the best quarterback in this game, and that's Josh Allen. Gives you upside for like 60 points at the captain spot if he has another 40 burger. And if we go with Josh Allen, we're going to have to save some money in these other spots. We're already down to $6,400 left, but there's a lot of good value in the 6 and 7K range, like Allen Robinson at 62. Especially if there is no Van Jefferson, him and Cooper Kupp, they're going to get a majority of the targets. Still able to get to a quarterback in Matthew Stafford. We're still going to be looking to get to Isaiah McKenzie for sure. At $2,400, he's just too good of a value to pass up. And now we can get to some of these tight ends that we saw break the slate in showdowns a lot last year. Get to both Dawson Knox and Tyler Higbee. So Higbee will also benefit if there's no Van Jefferson, just getting more targets for him. So that's the second lineup that we can look at. A third one that I'll show you is one with Gabe Davis at captain, and he's at 10-8. He still gives you massive upside, especially if Diggs is going to be limited a bit by being defended by Jalen Ramsey. But Josh Allen is a lock for me. I don't see myself making a lineup without him. McKenzie, same thing goes for him with his price tag at $2,400. Still like to get to Cooper Kupp whenever I can, and going with the cheaper captain will make it easier to do that. I can get to Tyler Higbee or even get to Allen Robinson if we wanted to. But if we do go with Tyler Higbee here, he's only $5,600. We're left with 68, so we're able to get to another tight end and Dawson Knox. Get to both tight ends once again with Cooper Kupp. Get to Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie. Or you could put in Allen Robinson and save $600 and be different that way. Get to both number 1 and number 2 receivers for Matthew Stafford, as well as the third guy who should be getting the most targets in Tyler Higbee. So this game is looking very, very fun. There's a lot of ways to go with your builds. And then the final one I look at is going to be one with Cooper Kupp at captain, just because I wanted to see how that looks. And go Cooper Kupp, go with Josh Allen still, go with Allen Robinson, go with the Dawson Knox here at $6,800, go with Isaiah McKenzie at $2,400, just super affordable. And then a 4K, once again, get to Tyler Bass. So depending on how much risk you want to take, this one also looks super strong. You don't get to Matthew Stafford, but you still get to 4 Bills, and you get to 2 out of the top 3 guys or probably you only get to 2 of the top 4 guys in targets in Knox and McKenzie. You're missing out on Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. But this one still, if you're looking to get up to Cooper Kupp at captain, it's probably one of the better ones you can make with that. But in terms of core plays for me, I think I'll probably end up with Josh Allen or Isaiah McKenzie at captain. Those are probably like 2 extremes, but for right now, I'll put in Josh Allen at the captain spot. We'll see. Just because I'm still able to get to some of the other superstars, and as well as expecting a big game from Josh Allen. So put in Isaiah McKenzie there. So he's definitely a core play. And then on the Rams side, just with the value that we're getting for Allen Robinson at $6,200, he's going to be probably a guy I try to get to. Expect to have a pretty solid year, and especially get a lot more touchdowns than he has. He might even get, he only had 1 for the Bears last year. Probably expect at least 5, I would say. And this one, it could happen early if they score a lot of points, which it is projected to be a very high-scoring game. So those are like 3 really great core plays. The last one would be trying to probably get to Matthew Stafford at 10-8, just because it might be a bit tough for them to run a lot. Both rush defenses are pretty solid. The Rams are tougher with Donald in the center. The Bills are a little bit easier to run on, but Akers and Henderson, they still have a lot to prove this year. But this is probably at least a start. Both quarterbacks, and then we get to 2 cheap receivers, especially McKenzie's super cheap to pass up on. So that's it for DraftKings. Let's go ahead and look at FanDuel. So the pricing on FanDuel, they also have a Millie Maker. We have Josh Allen 17.5 on FanDuel. You're not paying extra for the MVP spot, so you're automatically just going for their highest projected player there. So that's going to be Josh Allen for me, followed by Cooper Kupp, and then you could mix in some of these values instead. But yeah, Matthew Stafford at 15.5. Once again, I'll probably end up being being pretty light on Stephon Diggs. We're getting a good price tag on Gabe Davis, 11.5. Robinson's still there. I like those receivers probably better than Cam Akers. Singletary's only 10.5. I like him just because he'll mix in receptions out of the backfield as well. Dawson Knox at 10K. Like him more than the kicker and Bass and Matt Gay. Just get to a receiver that could score multiple touchdowns. McKenzie's 85. He'll probably be somebody to try to get to. Higbee's only 8K. So FanDuel has it priced correctly with Crowder being the cheapest. Out of the 4 Bills receivers, DraftKings kind of messed that up. And then all the way at the bottom, you have Skoronik at 65, Tutu Atwell, especially if those guys will be viable if there is no Van Jefferson, which looks like he won't play. And that's pretty much it. So on FanDuel, put in Josh Allen at the MVP spot. We're left with a little over 10K left. So some values that look appealing right out of the gate would be like a Dawson Knox 10K, would be getting to 85 McKenzie, get to Higbee at only 8,000, and now we have 16K. So that's where we put in Cooper Kupp. Like this one will probably be pretty popular. I'd probably like to get to Kupp over Stafford for 500 more, but if you wanted to, instead of going with a Dawson Knox here at 10.5, if you wanted to go to Singletary, you could throw him in the mix and then go down to Matthew Stafford and get to that quarterback there. So this is also pretty viable, but we've seen tight ends do really well in showdowns last year, so if that continues, then you might want to get to Knox over Singletary, but Singletary still pretty safe just with the touches that he'll get. And if Van Jefferson does happen to get cleared, he's only $7,500. He would be a very good value pick. That's pretty much it on FanDuel. I mean, if you can always mix and match your MVP spots, so instead of going with Josh Allen, if you want to go to Cooper Kupp instead, you do that or go with Matthew Stafford. But for me, in terms of the core plays, still be Josh Allen in terms of just being, in my opinion, by far the highest projected scorer in this game. Well, Kupp can be pretty close second, probably like 4 or 5 points separate those guys. Do like Gabe Davis, do like Robinson, but we're getting into some of these cheaper receivers or tight ends and running backs like Singletary, Dawson Knox. McKenzie is 85, but Higbee will probably be the second guy just because he's only 8,000, and you probably have to be relying on a little bit heavily if there is no Van Jefferson to get some targets there. And then the third guy could be McKenzie at $8,500, just also another cheap receiver who should be seeing a much bigger workload than he has, and could see him capitalize and get some kind of emerge as that Cole Beasley this season for the Bills. So those would be the three that I'd probably start with, and then you're going to have a lot of leftover to get to like a Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, or go with some more middle of the pack guys like Robinson, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox. But that's about it for the Showdown video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Best of luck. Tomorrow is the day season starts, so wish you guys the best and hope you guys make a lot of money. Hopefully some of us can split the milli. Be tough to kind of win it outright, but I'll see you guys next time with another video. Thank you for watching and good luck.